26th is Rick Cornstuble.
Most of you know me. I say an awful lot of familiar faces. I've got something different to say. I've been in Indiana since 1976. I have now lived over half of my life here. I spent the first 34 years of my life in Oklahoma and the next 35 plus. I'm 69 here in Indiana, and it's home now. My daughters grew up here. This is home. Went back to my high school reunion last year in Tulsa, and I thank God for my wife who remembered where things were. I couldn't find anything. I've just been here forever. This is home now. But let me talk to you about my background. My father was a country doctor at a place called Shakota, Oklahoma. If you all know country and western music, you know that's where what did I say? I can't remember her name right now.
Billy the Kid?
No. She just won the talent. No. It'll come to me in a little bit. Anyhow, she's from that town, little town of 5,000 people. And my father was very much a country doctor. After we moved to Tulsa, he kept his country doctor ways. I was 10 years old when we moved to Tulsa, when I realized that you had to go to the grocery store to get eggs and corn and snapping beans and okra and beef and fryers. But I thought people brought those to the house to pay their doctor bills. My mother was a school teacher. My paternal grandfather was a school teacher and school administrator. A couple of generations on back, the family of veterinarians. There's lots of school teachers, and lots of doctors in the family. The tradition in my family of service. My wife was a teacher. Like I said, my mother was. I have cousins, second cousins, all of whom are in education. I spent 30 years with the Indiana State Teachers Association and 2 years with the Oklahoma Education Association. I've bargained over 300 collective bargaining agreements for classroom teachers and a dozen or so under private sector laws for staff organizations. I know how to bargain, I know how to sit down with someone, I know how to identify a problem, I know how to find the core of the problem, and how to talk and find solutions, whether it's a quid pro quo, or you're trading this for that, or whether you sit down and you work on the issues and you find common ground and you resolve the problem. We haven't had that in a long time. If you get a chance to read a book, Lee Hamilton's got a book. It's out of print now, but you can get a copy of it fairly easily. It's a little book. How Congress Works and Why You Should Care. And there's a section in there where Lee talks about when he was a freshman in Congress. He was about ready to introduce an amendment, and he was going to do it wrong. And another congressman, a senior congressman, came down the aisle and helped him do it right rather than embarrass himself. That congressman was a Republican from Indiana who opposed the amendment. But that kind of collegial, work-together attitude is gone in Washington, and it's gone in Indianapolis. We don't do anything but fight over partisan issues, and everything has become a partisan issue, and nothing gets done. And right now, when the Republicans are controlling the governor's office, the Senate, and the House, we have seen some of the most mean-spirited, anti-Hoosier legislation in this country's history. All you can say for it is it's bullying. When you pick on school children, when you pick on the disabled, when you pick on the handicapped, when you cut benefits for poor people, it's nothing but bullying. I'm 5 feet 5 inches tall. I've spent my life fighting bullies. That's why I became a wrestler in high school. I got my first job teaching because the principal said I need somebody who can coach wrestling and drive a school bus. I was going to get that job, whatever they said. So I coached wrestling and I drove a school bus. But we have now an administration that seems hell-bent on absolutely destroying most of the workers in the state of Indiana. Right to work is an awful law. When it was first tried in Oklahoma, it failed the first time. And it failed because the unions went out. And what they did was they went to the professional people, the doctors and the lawyers, the business owners, and they said, here's what your counterpart makes in Arkansas, where they've had right to work for 10 years. Here's what you make. And they stopped right to work. Now, time changed, it came around a second time, and it passed. I thought it was interesting that they brought in someone from Oklahoma to talk about how great things were in Oklahoma now that right to work has passed. They didn't mention the fact that oil was $100 a barrel. That kind of slipped their mind as the cause for Oklahoma's economic growth. Right to work is awful. It's an attack on working people. It will lower the the standard of living in Indiana. It takes away the right for a union to protect itself and to do its job. Indiana teachers lost the right to bargain. We lost agency shop. We got our right to work law in 1994. I bargained Indiana's first language on agency shop in Indiana, and ironically, I bargained the last one before the law changed. But unions have a responsibility to represent every single employee in that plant, in that factory, or that school. They have, and in that, those people who benefit from that bargaining, from that representation, from that protection, have an obligation to support that union. I believe in that. I bargained that. I believe that wholeheartedly, and we've got to reverse right to work in it, and we've got to reverse this attack on working people once and for all. This is, if we cannot stand under 4, 6, 8 years of Republican dominance in the governor's office, in the Senate, and the House. The best chance we've got is to take back the House. That has to happen. We've got to get control of the House in Indiana. Most of you know me. I've lived here since '81. I worked with teachers, I worked with kids, I've dedicated my life to fighting for the little guy. And I want to continue doing that in Indianapolis. I believe wholeheartedly and absolutely that I'm the best candidate, that I can put together what needs to happen, that I can bring to Indianapolis a kind of activity and work that will get us headed in the right direction. And I hope that, with all my heart, that we turn around the Indiana General Assembly and we at least have enough Democrats this term to stop action, and next time we have enough to start turning some of this stuff back. Thank you, and I appreciate your support on May the 8th, and if I win that, November the 6th. Thank you.